All right, everyone, welcome. Um, Now, to state that we have all kinds of events that are happening around us, causing us to go into crises or to fend in us fear is an understatement. There are so many things that are happening, from political instability, food and shelter insecurities, just general fear about weather patterns, we were just talking about wind gusts. Colorado uh, is now expecting, because of a storm that's coming, a spring storm, 4 feet of snow. And it's pouring right now. It's coming down right now. So there's so many unstable. Sedona, it snowed there yesterday again. Um, um, and on and on. I could go on, and I have to say, by the channeling that I had done, and I'm going to repeat this again. If last year was marked by fire, this year will be marked by precipitation or things falling from the sky. Okay? And earth tectonic changes, including volcanoes. It will be rain, it will be storm, it will be hurricane, it will be snow, not fire, and it will be also volcanic activity and tectonic changes. So I just want to say that so that people can be forewarned and you can be prepared and be ready. I've been watching on the news, there are major storms everywhere. Right now, Saudi Arabia, 3 days of darkness because of a sandstorm. Giant sandstorm came in and just engulfed everything. Floods. You can go online and search for it. It's everywhere. Major floods everywhere. And a lot of it is not being reported because it's not sexy to report for whatever reasons. But if you will do a quick search, you will find it. If you Google it, you will find it. So I wanted to bring that up and to also alert you to the fact that we're still transitioning, and these events are going to fan a sense of insecurity and, more importantly, survival. It's going to trigger and kick in survival in a big way. And survival is the grounding rod that around which everything that's connected to the 3D reality rotate. We have tributary emotions, activities, and reaction to survival, however we perceive it to be. We fight or flight, we battle, we hoard, we kill, we do whatever it is that we need to do so that we maintain ourselves and we're not in a state.
Well, Pierre, today here, I mean, we've definitely had wind, but the other thing is that within an hour, it went from the sun shining to rain to sleet to snow and the sun shining again.
Mm-hmm. There you go. There you go. So exactly what I'm talking about, this instability,
Yeah.
the weather pattern, this kind of like unusual. So all of these events are creating and fending survival, and however that may look for you, and particularly when the predicted normal behavior, like, you know, even upstate, for example, flood area that had 100-year storm. 100-year storm now, meaning that the flooded area, it's every 100 years you expect the storm to get to that part of the geography or the terrain. Right now, 100-year storm is now every 5 years. Okay, meaning that the storms have gone out of control and are now unpredictable. For your homes, if you don't have it, I recommend, particularly if you're by water, that you get FEMA insurance for flood insurance. This is additional to your normal coverage that you should get. as a way for you to protect yourself against the eventuality of something like this happen. Okay. Lucky for me, Algarville, where I am, the water is way on the other side, which is very low, like the stream, and we're on top of a hill. If the water gets to where I am, we have a different problem. If I get flooded where the house is, I should be building an ark, because it's a different issue, because it would mean all of 97 and everything else would be flooded all the way up, because I'm on top of the hill. Okay. So, and be that as it may, who knows, it may come to that, I don't know. But I just want to alert you to all of this situation and make you realize that this year is marked by things falling from the sky, water, snow. In Italy recently, because of Mount Etna, I think, that erupted 12 times. Now it's raining this brown, ashy stuff. Okay, there were all these active volcanoes that are also erupting, bubbling. There was an activity also in Hawaii. If you look for it, you will see it. Not fire like last year, water, flood, hurricane, and potentially snow, like it snowed in Sedona yesterday. So I just want you to be aware of this, like uncharacteristic. Sedona, which is always in 90s and 100, snows. That's what I mean about unusual weather phenomenon that's creating a sense of insecurity, because you cannot longer predict it. So there is what's happening inside of us, and then the reason I'm mentioning all of this is that inside of us, at the reptilian brain, near the medulla oblongata, there is the inner brain, which is the reptilian part. On top of the medulla oblongata is there, and the reptilian brain is below. That reptilian brain is about one thing: it's about survival. And when we're being triggered by the outside into survival, we begin to be afraid. Of course, wearing a mask, worrying about COVID and different variant and all that does nothing to keep us feeling secure. It's every time you have to go out, you put that mask on, and again, it gives you a sense of insecurity. I'm not safe. I'm not safe. Danger, 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 danger. And so it's triggering all of us to still remain parked in survival, in 3D, to ground in us survival. We're not safe. We're not safe. And it's difficult for us to move from there into the higher density, 4D, 5D, 6D, or whatever lies beyond. Because every time you think that you park yourself there and situation happened, a news thing showed up, somebody in your life got connected with something that triggered, again, the survival, the hoarding, the fight or flight, the battle, the attack, etc., so that we can remain in that same space. And I'm saying this because I have been going through a personal journey for the past 2 weeks and a kind of a struggle to try to figure out for myself where and how am I supposed to bring myself into the next level of awareness. Celidia, in a few classes ago, had brought up this idea about being visible, or being invisible rather. And I had said to her as a response, because she triggered me big time, this is something that was always in the back burner that I was suppressing and not dealing with. And I described to her and to the whole class that for 14 years, when I was 18 years old, I joined the mystery schools, and then I joined 3 separate orders that were all French-based of spiritual knights founded in 1749 that were trying to bring light to humanity. But because of the time, they were doing great work to explain the background. They were trying to manifest, or they did manifest at the time, the Christ as a column of light in the middle of a room. And at the time, the code name, because at the time you couldn't speak about it, in their letters and correspondence when they met, they used to call the manifestation la chose, the thing. They would not name it the Christ. They would call it la chose as a code name to make sure that no one understood what they were talking about. Okay? But one of the other technique, because at the time you're talking about the Inquisition and people getting killed, getting guillotined, getting burned at the stake for even thinking anything that was outside of the church, they begin to teach certain kind of technique to hide yourself, to camouflage, and to become invisible. And one of the things that they use a ritualistic, you wore a white robe, you had a mask to become an unknown and to connect yourself to the unknown master so that you can become invisible. And you had a black hood and a cloak all the way down to the ground. You literally were wrapped in it. And of course I got initiated. There were 3 different levels to the organization. I went into all of them. I was an officer, I did everything. And at the time when I did this felt completely right to me. I went in head first, heart first, because some of the things that they were doing, the part that was about the manifestation of la chose, was beautiful. I went all the way in. Okay? And I use the cloak all the time because they were saying this is the way to remove your ego. You have to uncloak yourself, blah, blah, blah. You have to become unknown to everyone. And I went in, and I did it energetically all the time, to the point that I could go sit in the subway and I would put the cloak on, and I became so invisible that people would walk in and try to sit on top of me. And so I'm saying this because I want you to understand how something can be outdated. At the time, it was founded in 1749, and the time beyond that, it was actually necessary to camouflage. But since I did this for so long with such full heart, I have cloaked myself and my work. I cannot tell you the number of times I've hired marketing teams where I've done promotion to publish, to promote events, to promote to, like WISAC or any kind of event I'm doing, promote my work, to pick up my clientele. I spent thousands and thousands and thousands, where everything else would get resolved, would get a certain percentage of people who would come in. I get a big zero for all the money I've spent. Why? Because I'm cloaked. I'm in hiding. And I know what I'm saying may sound maybe a little bit extreme, because it was extreme. I will grant you that. But I know that many of you have the problem as light workers with visibility. I know many of you have problems with that. And you're trying to hide a part of you that you don't want people to see nor to know. And I'm not saying that you should publish everything and live your life on mass media and etc. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I made myself so invisible that no one can find me. And I know what I'm teaching has incredible value. I've had so many people over the many, many years who have said to me, I don't understand why you're not huge, because what you're doing is so extraordinary and it's so easy to do. Why are you not so big that you should have a whole team and you shouldn't, and that's the reason. Okay. Yet one of the things that I had to do is that the next day when I discovered this, and this, kind of like Sylvia mirrored it for me on the outside. The next day I had to begin to understand other things as well. Because the root cause of this is not just from the time I was 18 on. The root cause is the way I grew up. I grew up in the Caribbean, Voodoo Island, where you were afraid, and with a mother that was severely paranoid, always had us around her skirt. We could not go when there was vacation. We couldn't go anywhere without her. The fact that she let me and my brother, I think it was twice, maybe twice, go on for 2 weeks on a vacation with the Boy Scout is a miracle. It's a miracle. Because all of our neighbors during the summer would go, you know, visit other regions of the country, would travel with family members. No, you don't know what's going to happen. I'm a single mother raising nothing. There was fear of everything, because everything all around us, there was always danger lurking, and she had to make sure that she was protecting us. If I ever was rebelling, and it's funny, when I was a kid, I always wanted to do my own thing. So I remember getting up and you know, exploring the mountains with my friends, going out for an excursion for 3 to 4 hours, blah, 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 and then coming back and getting either a verbal lashing or a smack across the head because I spent too much time outside. And where did you go? The voodoo people could have hurt you, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And indeed, I met several voodoo people when I went in the mountain, but they didn't hurt me. Because at the time, I was in a state of, and I want to remind you the contrast. When you're a kid, there is a sense of exuberance, of invincibility and immortality that you have. When you get up, you can do almost anything. When I had planned, I'm like, today I'm going to go in and we're going to explore this part of the mountain that we went to, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm going to tell you some crazy other stuff that I used to do. I used to jump from rooftop to rooftop. Distance of, you know, easily 8 to 9 feet. Because I thought I could fly and I was immortal and nothing could happen to me. And I would run from one corner and run, and I would jump from, and I did it. Something that right now I would probably not do. That sense of exuberance, of like immortality, that sense of me being, not fearing anything. There was no fear. I was fearless. Nothing scared me. And that somehow diminished over the years. I remember being in this apartment, maybe mid around between 38 to 40, thinking to myself, why am I hiding here? Where is that exuberance? Where is that fearlessness? Why is it that I'm there was a time, for example, when I was younger, I was out. You couldn't keep me in this apartment. I was at the museum. I was at an art gallery. I was like, you name, if anything open in New York City, indoor, outdoor event. If anything open, I would be there. If an envelope open, I would be there. There was a sense of like, I gotta explore the world. The world is a beautiful place. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna, I was out. I've traveled the whole world. I've been twice to New Zealand, all the way to New Zealand, down under, and I've always gone alone. I don't wait for a group. I don't go for travel with a bunch of buddies and friends. I just look, I want to go there. I'm attracted to this. I want to know about this culture. I do my own research. I go online, or either book the flight or I have a travel agent if it's too complicated. Because one time I remember traveling to Australia and I was doing so many stops and going so many places because I wanted to go to Bali. I had to get a travel agent to help me. Okay, and I arranged everything, and the moment I got the money, I paid, and I'm gone. And there was a sense in me of no fear. I can go out there and can do anything I want. Yet, for whatever reason, I find myself in a place where I am in this apartment, as if I'm waiting for something, or at times I'm in panic, nervous over emerging danger that I'm sensing that may be coming or not coming toward me. And I'm thinking the two things, I could not be the same being because they are too different from each other. And what happened to me to have choked that invincibility, that immortality, and that sense of exuberance? Where did the fear creep in, and how come I'm being choked by it? And where I am right now, or at least in my reptilian brain right now, there's a deep and profound awareness of the axis of the 3D of survival that says one thing and one core thing: the world is benevolent. Okay? And therefore, whatever I have to do to survive, to protect myself, and to not let this benevolence next to me, I have to do it. And it's terrifying that I had to go, because you realize the degree to which I had to go. I had to go from me being aware that first it was invisible and being invisible, then it went into my childhood, then it now moved into an even deeper thing, which is the core program that I'm running. And that core program is that there's benevolence in the world because of the way I grew up. Even though there was a part of it I didn't want to believe it, but over the years, it has grounded. It may have been a tiny little string, like maybe the size of a dental floss, but now it's something much bigger. Okay? And so I find myself at a situation where I am trying to figure out how to unroot all of this, because I am hold on, one of the students who registered for the class just emailed me. Give me 1 second, let me see what she's saying. Okay, she wants the recording. All right, got it. So one of the things that I'm realizing now is that I have to do something about it. And when I looked at the network and how everything is and how big this thing was, particularly given the fact that there is constant events that are occurring around the world that are inflating this, that are fanning this, that are putting, it's like putting wood on a fire. It's getting it bigger and bigger. And I realize this is exactly why the universe is bringing all these events to me, all of these fears and fear event, for me to begin to now look inside of me at the root of what's holding the 3D in me. And it's in the reptilian brain. It's deep, deep inside of me. And I have to figure out a way to have it dismantled, to remove it. So the first thing when you're trying to get rid of a false belief, and I have to say here, there's a difference between a program and what I call a false personality module, a false belief. A program is you believing, for example, wrongly, that you have no power or you have no voice. This is so old and so ancient because we've been surviving on Earth for such a long time that it is now a splinter psyche. It's not just a belief that's connected to this lifetime and a few experiences. It's a splinter psyche. Moreover, 7 billion people on Earth, plus people on Earth, are believing it as well and are holding it to be true. And therefore, it makes it even stronger because you and I and all of them are sharing a collective group body. And since we are the herald, and I'm like, you and I are the herald that are supposed to bring humanity to a different axis, a different belief system, we have to figure out a way to redirect this, because you can get rid of a program with affirmation, with asking Master Dwakol to do the core field metrics removal programming and to have it extracted while you sleep, and then repeat affirmation as a new belief that will allow the grounding of something new inside of you. It is not this case when you have a false personality module, or what Carl Gustav Jung calls a complex. A complex cannot be deprogrammed. It can only be reassigned and given a different purpose, a different goal. You cannot deprogram it because it's too ancient, it's too big, it's been there for too long. The story, the archetypical story is the story of Chiron, who was the teacher of all the heroes, including Hercules, who guided Hercules to fight. I think it was the Hydra, and Hercules was fighting the Hydra, and Hercules took an arrow, and he shot the arrow, and it cut the Hydra, the demon, and the blood of the demon was in the arrow, and the arrow ricocheted and hit Chiron in the leg. And Chiron began to have a pain because of this that he couldn't cure, although he was the healer of everyone. He healed all the heroes, he trained them, and he couldn't, and the pain got so bad and he couldn't heal himself that he had to ask God, Zeus, for help. And Zeus elevated him, and he became Sagittarius. So the story archetypically is telling you, when you have a complex or something that's that old, you need divine intervention. You cannot redirect it by yourself because it's too ancient, it's too old, it will not work. You need something higher than you to help you elevate it. So one of the things that I've been doing is that I've been going into source, into the blessed field, and I've been asking God to help me transmute this. Help me as I release. I know that this fear. So when you're having a complex, particularly, I'm sharing my story with you. I am sure that you have some of these things, but they're not going to show up exactly like in me. So you need to go down the rabbit hole and down the funnel to find out what the root program is for you. Okay? Maybe it's different or somewhat related. Whatever you find it to be, you need to be aware, because what we're doing, what is ascension? It's enlightenment. It's self-awareness. You have to become aware of what is unconscious to you. We are nothing more than mental bodies of unconscious tendencies. And if until you become conscious and you're aware that you are you've been doing something unconsciously, you cannot self-correct. Okay? So it's your work and your responsibility, yours and mine, to begin to analyze and begin to see, okay, I'm doing this. I'm responsible for this. And I have to figure out a way for me to self-correct. So the first thing is to go down the funnel to realize how far down you go. Where is that survival for you? How does it show up for you? What kind of core program are you running that's holding the survival in you? And whatever that is, this is what you're going to ask transcendence for. This is what you're going to pray to the blessed field, and you're going to ask for a release and into higher consciousness, right? And again, it's reptilian brain based kind of awareness. It's not conscious. It's not something that's in the forefront of your awareness. It's deeply rooted to the back, to the very, to the very essence of the most primitive part of ourselves. Now, interestingly enough, although Darwin did talk about survival and did talk about the survival of the fittest and all that stuff, but there is also a recurring theme in nature that Darwin completely missed, and that a lot of naturalists and biologists are actually talking about, which is that there is an interdependence and interconnectedness across species, across everything in nature, that Darwin completely missed. That all life forms are actually existing in that interdependence and interconnectedness. So there is a competing desire or frequency that's completely the antithesis of what has been fermenting, growing, and expanding like a cancer in the ego of humanity, which is to survive at any cost. There's something else that's there, and we have to shift gear and find what that something else is. Any questions, any comments? So one of the things that I'm doing right now to help me with this, overcome this challenge, and I'm realizing this is part of the, you know, as a way shower, I need to unground this in me. I need to remove this, and I'm going into the blessed field every day. And I'm asking, because you have to understand, this belief in survival is connected to one thing and one thing alone, that resources are extremely rare and limited. And therefore, I have to hoard whatever I can hoard, and I have to fend and defend and protect everything that I have. I have to worry about, whereas in nature, there is interdependence. No animal will ever hunt over the amount that they need. They just take what they need for the moment, and then the rest is left alone. Even the greatest, the apex predators. Lions will only hunt for the amount that they need to eat. After that, they let all the other gazelle or antelope run away. They're not interested. If they're not hungry, they're not interested. They only do what they need for the moment to satisfy, because there will always be more. They're not afraid of not having. This mentality of lack that we have is the problem. This is the root, one of the root cause. And that mentality of lack begins to connect and disconnect us to give and receive in an incorrect manner. Because as long as I'm in that kind of survival and I'm afraid I don't have enough and I have to hoard, I have to connect, and I'm not in flow, I disconnect to the abundance and the natural flow that exists in the universe. There's enough resources for all of us to survive and to prosper and to have plenty. And there's no reason why one person should hold, all of the resources, or a small percentage, 1% should hold all of the resources in their hand. There is enough for all of us. And if we let everything recycle and flow the way nature does it, everybody will prosper. And not only that, but it will be at perpetuity. That's the key. It will be at perpetuity, because the infinity loop would close itself as long as we allow it to happen, and everyone will be taken care of. So there is an unsustainability that exists in that kind of mentality and that kind of connection to that lack. And one of the things that happened to me is that as I went in and surrendered into this field, as I went in and asked the universe to remove this cloak, to uncloak me, and I'm more concerned not just about the cloak, but I mean, you know, the symbolic stuff that I use, but the ritualistic stuff that I did, the invocation to the unknown masters that I elect myself to. What does that mean to be in that group body right now when that ritual and that group body activity is outdated? What does that mean in me right now? How do I disconnect myself to it to allow myself not to choke anymore? So as I did this, I was sharing with you last week that I went, I think it was on Wednesday's class, that I went outside to walk. And as I walked, suddenly, all of a sudden, my vision returned back to 2020. Everything inside of me became exuberant. Every cell, and I had the alchemy or the sense energetically that every cell, the 50 trillion cells that were in my body, were wrapped either in Reynolds wrap or plastic bubble that was choking them, and they were being ripped apart. And I could feel the rise of this different frequency and different vibration, this exuberance, this, dare I say it, this immortality, this invincibility. And I could feel it rise inside of me all of a sudden, and I'm walking around and I could see clearly everything that's around me, bright, shiny, everything. And I felt so good that instead of me just getting lunch, I went outside and I walked. I walked for 35 minutes. And I realized that God is giving me a taste of what's to come. And I'm going to link it to something else. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead that I was reading recently, it talks about the sixth realm when you're getting reincarnated in the bardo of becoming, of you reincarnating. There are six realms. The realm of the gods, where this exuberance and this sense of invincibility in yourself exists. The realm of the jealous god, where pride exists. The realm of the hungry ghosts, where there's people who have too much desire or still connected to the things of the earth and still desire them, they have attachments, will reincarnate as. The realm of the animal, the realm of human, and then the hell beings. And one of the things in all about, though, every time you're approaching any of the other five realms, they give you a ritual. If you see yourself going to reincarnate into a womb in that realm, they give you a ritual to close the womb so that you can have an opportunity to find the luminosity. A prayer or something to do to close the womb. The only place where they said, if you have the opportunity to go in the realm of the God, where that exuberance and that sense of immortality and invincibility exists, you should go. You should go. Because it will uplift you closer to enlightenment. And I had a sense that if I allow all the 50 trillion cells that were in my body at the time, and I had it again today. I had that same experience today because I've been doing this practice now for a few days now. I had the exact same experience. I went to walk outside. It was exactly the same thing. It was everything bright, everything shiny, everything. I'm like, I'm walking. I'm feeling fantastic. I don't know. It's been years. I'm feeling so good. I used to walk. I'll tell you how exuberant I was. When I went to graduate school all the way at Columbia University on 116th Street and Broadway, I used to walk from Columbia all the way down to 14th Street by foot, all the way down. And when I got downtown, I would then take the train to come back. That would be a whole afternoon. I did this every Sunday. I was working in studios till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, doing hard work in architecture for graduate school. And every Sunday at 3 o'clock, I would stop, and that was my walk. And I would go on my walk, and I would go, and I would start walking, and I would take the train on the way back. So that exuberance, that endless and boundless energy that I always had, I felt a resurgence of it in my body. And I know it's directly connected to this shift that's happening inside of me in my awareness. That I need to go back to that previous state and somehow reroute and redirect the fear, the bubble wrap that are choking me from experiencing this exuberance and this immortality. Any questions, any comments?
I feel the same way, same bubble wrap.
You feel the bubble wrap as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's terrifying. It's like, I'm asking
It's
myself,
horrible.
you know, girl, you know, you remember us running in clubs?
Oh
and
my God, remember?
Hours.
So,
Till they turn on the light, they say, go home, I'm not leaving.
like unlimited energy, oh my God.
What happened?
No idea. It's
You
like
know,
night and day.
Yeah, I used to go out. I was doing everything else, school included. I would go out 3 times a week to
Oh
hang
my
out in
God.
clubs. I would still show up 8 o'clock in the morning the next day for a lecture.
I have no idea.
Boundless energy.
Boundless energy. It's crazy. And no fear too.
Yeah,
Now I think I'm like, wow, how fearless I was. It's crazy.
yeah. No sense of danger about anything.
Nothing.
And for all the worries that my mother had about me growing up, she may have been right on some level, but
Yeah,
I had such a sense of innocence and such a sense of like,
Same
nothing's
here.
gonna happen to me. Nothing ever happened to me.
Yeah, same here. It's crazy.
So I created it. I existed in
And
a
if there was
parallel
danger, I
world.
was so protected that it was impossible that anything happened to me. I mean, I have stories. It's crazy.
Yeah. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I am very aware of this, and I'm asking myself, what happened?
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Put me on the list. I mean, I came to New York. I didn't know anybody, which in New York's a big deal. I know. I look back, I had no fear. And, as a woman in my generation and in architecture and design, very patriarchal, starting my own business, I didn't think anything of it. I had 35 employees and I don't know what happened. Yeah, I would sit in a room with a client and pitch all kind of ideas way out there. And my team, be sitting there. They later would tell me they'd be a nervous wreck that the client was going to say yes, because they had no idea. But I never cared. And they'd say yes. And I'd figure out how to make it all happen, and yeah, I look back, I never thought about it. I always figured I'd have the money for payroll. I'd figure out how to make projects happen. I didn't even have a new business person. And yeah, I was listening to you too. I was like, what happened? I don't know. All of a sudden, there was a contraction. I won't say that it was fear of still not being able to do projects, but this kind of fear of showing up. It felt more comfortable to be invisible.
Yeah.
And I started to assume it was going to be painful on some level to be in my full power and creativity. I mean, it can be, we know that. But yeah, I'm listening to you going, goodness, I know. More and more isolated, less adventuresome. So maybe that's the next class. Reclaiming our visibility. I remember I once had a client who he used to give us repeated work, great projects. And he'd always kind of coach before I was going to pitch to his executives and things who, were conservative or didn't have vision. And he'd go, girl, I tell you, when you're visible, you can make anything happen and sell anything. But when you're not, he's like, whatever you got to do between now and tomorrow morning, get visible.
Mm,
I mean, I heard his words while you were talking. I don't think
mm,
I realized,
mm,
that he could see that,
mm.
So yeah. Yeah, I don't know what happens,
Yeah. Well, there are so many instances of that we are being bombarded by, including the group body we're connected to because we're human beings, and everyone is telling us, no, don't do this. Don't. Everything is telling you not to do. And if you're in the creative field, if you're doing right, or you're doing anything remotely connected to healing of any kind, it could be healing
Right.
through architecture, to yoga, through energy healing. If you're doing anything that's out of the box, everybody will tell you, no, don't do it. And if you're doing this, over time, the number of times people repeat this and saying no, it will begin to be choked. I know why I left architecture, because I got tired of putting out fires. I couldn't create anymore. It felt like I was babysitting and I was putting out fires. The creativity, whatever design idea that came in, the exuberance and the joy of creating got destroyed by the client, by the building department, by approval, by the contractor, by everyone telling me I couldn't do it. And I had to fight every time to this myriad amount of different people that were supposedly trying to help me as a part of my creative team that were telling me no. And there's only so much of this that you can do after a while, where you begin to say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm too tired. I'm too tired.
Exhausting. And just it's a process. I remember that's what exhausted me after a while, is that this kind of very black and white, what is failure, what is success, meaning like if you didn't have all the answers and couldn't see every little dot connected, very quickly or in the moment, or to answer a question, then you were sort of either idealistic or you didn't have it together. Oh, we can't do that. And I remember this, like I was better when I got in the moment. I never worried I wouldn't be shown the way. I didn't need all the answers. I never worried that I didn't have all the answers. It would reveal itself. But you have to have that freedom to get in that flow and not get everybody bombarding you with their concerns and fears.
And their no's, they keep telling
The no's, yeah.
Oh, it's an endless thing of no's. You can't do this. You have to do this way. No, this is not fireproof. That one is not this. You have to do it this way. The code says you have to do it that way. This has it, and on and on and on. Every time you have, as architect, zoning book, a code book, building code book, latest development in this, that, or the other. Every time you come for a new way of doing things, you have to prove it to the inspectors and you have to keep proving to them that what you're doing is right. And this got very exhausting.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the creative part. But other parts of my life, the same thing was happening as well. Where I was, and given the fact that I had a mother that was a matriarch that was extremely afraid, some of that infected me deeply. And I didn't realize at the time it has seeped so deep inside of me. But I know it's in there. And I'm asking for the transcendence of this. I'm asking for it to be released, because till I do this, none of us, no matter how much we surrender into the blessed field, and if you cannot unroot that, that part will never let you to permanently exist into the new earth or the higher densities. You have to transmute this. You and I have to do it. It's the thing of the old alchemists of changing lead into gold. It's the philosopher's stone. That transmutation was always about consciousness. It was never about actual, there was some part of it that was actual conversion of raw metal into noble metal. But really the real alchemy was always the transmutation of consciousness.
Yep.
So it's for us to figure out a way to do this so that we can surrender whatever that root was, that fear, whatever the fear is that's choking, that bubble wrap. What is that bubble wrap? What is it made of for you? What is it? If you can figure this out, that's what you're going to surrender into the blessed field. Do you see what I'm saying? Because each one of us have different condition. The bubble wrap shows up differently. For me, it's the ritual. It's the cloak. I know exactly what it was. I did it for 14 years. I know exactly what it was. For you, it's going to be something else. So you have to figure out what that bubble wrap is. And whatever it is, that's what you have to let go of. Whatever is making you shrink. A lot of people are not being in their full power or not being visible because they are afraid of being in their power because they don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable around them. I know that part is also true for me. That spent a lot of time shrinking and making myself small so that other people will not feel uncomfortable. Because when I'm in my full power and I'm going and I'm letting everything flow inside of me, people stand around me and I think they are terrified because the way they look at me, they're staring at me like with their eyes completely like deers in headlight looking at, at some crazy scene. But what I have learned over the years, it's because I'm being so authentic and so true. And when I stand in that space, they are trying to process because they are trying to catch up. So their silence is not a judgment. A lot of time it's them trying to figure out because they are several steps behind me. And more to the point, because when I become so raw and so open and I'm releasing all the gates are open and everything is being released, when I'm in that state, I become so powerful that I begin to remind them that they too have that power within them, but they have it locked up. It's in the chest and it's buried very deep somewhere, and they need to unearth it. And this is the part that makes people feel uncomfortable, because when you're that free and that open, and you're sharing and you're shining your light, you make them look small, and they begin to feel maybe on some level envious, or on some level they might even welcome it because it's a great reminder for them. But in a lot of cases, you can sense that you're taking them to a territory of uncomfortability. And however that shows up for you, you have to make sure that you allow, you get comfortable. For me, for the longest time, until 5 years ago, I had that experience in California. I was always, every time I go into that space, I would always shrink back down. I'm like, there we go. I'm doing it again. I have to become small. Because of small, disappear, go into the ground, disappear, and hide. It's not something that I would do when I'm dancing. When I'm carrying on a club, I am the center of this attention. I am the cheese. I'm gonna carry on and let it all loose and let the spirit take me wherever it wants to take me. I take the flow over, and this is the kind of flow that you need to be in. That kind of exuberance, that kind of like sense of invincibility, immortality. And I don't mean just in dancing, but everywhere in life. And if you're in that kind of flow, the universe will respond and will move with you. Make any sense? And more to the point, the situation where we put ourselves in, particularly when it relates to, when we are talking about the analogy of seeing if a group of sardines that are spinning together and rotating together, or I use the example quite often of, and I think I may have played the video for you, of the starlings that are in a flock together of several billion, and they're flying together, and all of them are forming this incredible geometry, and you're hearing them buzzing into the night dusk, and they're moving in these incredible geometries. All of them are individual birds with their own individuality and their own sense of self-awareness, and yet they are flying in formation without them pre-planning it, having a meeting or a board meeting decided we'll do the geometry like a group of cheerleaders practicing hours and hours to do a 10-minute number. They are in a flow. And when they are in that flow, they allow the morphogenic awareness to the blessed field to take them into whatever geometry spontaneously rises in the morphogenic awareness. So we move from our own sense of control into a state of surrender. And when we surrender to the morphogenic awareness, and we let that morphogenic awareness take us into that blessed field. And whatever that blessed field, wherever it directs us, we flow with it and we allow it to take us wherever it wants to take us. And I've said this before, that I think the analogy that I can use now, I've been using recently with a few clients and with all of you, is that I am a train conductor. And what I do with clients or people's burden when they come to me, they don't know how to get to that morphogenic awareness. But I can take them on the train to that station. And when they get there, I just surrender. I open the door and I said, go into the platform. Them and their burden moves into the platform, and I wait for them. I'm not involved with the healing. This is where the surrender comes in. I'm not involved. I just let them into the platform and let the blessed field, that collective, powerful flock of billion, I don't know, there's an infinite number of enlightened Buddha state beings that form this endless collective, to figure out a way to nullify their burden. And the moment that awareness is there and I surrender it completely, their healing will be found. I don't have to worry about it. So that, as I said, with the virtue of control, that state of doing, which is me taking them to the station, and then not doing, surrendering, which is to let go completely. The exact opposite. And if I can exist in that borderline between the two, I'm going to be fine. So when I take myself to the station, instead of staying in the train, I go now into the blessed field. And I ask, however that bubble wrap shows for me, universe, I'm asking for you to help me nullify it. Give me the immunity protocol. Give me the antidote to this. Give me the opposite. I cannot exist in that bubble wrap of fear anymore. That the universe is malevolent. This is a lie. It's completely untrue. It's coming from negative ego, fear-based separation consciousness. I'm releasing this into you. And as I inhale and exhale and I release this, the opposite shows up. And as it shows up, it begins to shift all kinds of things inside of me. Again, like Chiron, transcendence can only exist when you take it into the wounded healer can only heal himself when he goes into transcendence, into a higher realm. Now, going even deeper, we know, and we've been talking about this, that the ascension training that I'm doing for everyone, that ascension training will allow 144,000 of us to be able to exist like the flock of starling, to move together and to exist in this kind of like unison movement and frequency and vibration awareness, where we allow this morphogenic collective awareness to take over all of us. But before that happened, we have to equally allow every cellular memory that exists in the more than 150 trillion cells that exist in our body to exist in a morphogenic and liberated awareness to each other. I hope you're getting the subtlety of what I'm saying. That there are cellular memories that are holding each cell in a bubble wrap. So when I'm asking for solutions set to the field, I am also asking that every cell in my body be also liberated to exist in that morphogenic dance, so that I will allow whatever that higher frequency is not to become more like a chakra-related experience, but a full, complete, total body experience. Not something that I'm feeling in my head or in my heart for a moment, but that every cell in my body begin to move into it. And more to the point, even my reptilian brain can be shifted into a different awareness of this interdependence and co-creative and harmonizing collective awareness that we need to be in order for us to begin to sense the emerging vibration of the 5D and beyond. You see what I'm saying? Because it's so important that it's not just a mental exercise or something that you're requesting during meditation that only is taking, some, because a lot of the aches that you have in your body, a lot of physical problem that you're having is because you're holding cellular memory of that same fear, the bubble wrap around these parts of your body. And they've taken their own autonomous qualities to them. So you're not asking for your awareness to just join the blessed field and become in flow with the blessed field. You're asking for that same dance to cascade down and precipitate in your physical body and to allow every cell, 50 trillion cell, to now become a flock of starling and to flow in the same configuration as the blessed field. Thus releasing in you the biophotons, the store of light that exists in physical matter. Because everything is light. The fact that we have a physical body is because of photosynthesis. And what is photosynthesis? That we eat plant and vegetable and we're consuming everything from plant-based. Even if you eat meat, the animal, the cycle comes from photosynthesis. Everything comes from photosynthesis. Without it, there would be no oxygen, we would not be here. And what is photosynthesis? It's in the plants and the plant diet and everything else we're eating. That is actually frozen light. There is biophoton in all of us. And it is through that awareness, through that shifting awareness, and if we can allow ourselves to park our consciousness in that space and continue to explore what that looks like for us, we're going to get to a space where we will begin to release it, and it will be a phoenix rising experience. For us being choked and having the life being extinguished from us, we will begin to rise and elevate into something else. More to the point, scientists are now talking about the fact that at the very end of each of the DNA, we have 46 chromosomes, 23 pair that exist in the center of every cell that are wind and timed in these XY configuration. But each one of them is actually 6 feet tall. If you unwind them, they are 6 feet tall. They're extremely tall. My height, which is 6 feet tall. Now, these chromosomes, at the end of them, there's a part that they call a telomere. A telomere is like the end of a shoelace, because every month our chromosomes unzip. They open up because cells reproduced. They open up and one side remain, and then out of the base frequency of the matching, a new replacement and matching code gets it's like the zipper. If it's unzipped, a new side of a fresh brand new zipper, a part, half of the zipper comes in and reconnects. What happened with the telomere, as you age, it's like a shoelace with, where the end begin to become frayed and it begins to disintegrate. And the more it disintegrates, the more it's become frayed. The unzipping becomes incorrect and there are errors. And thus you become sick, you become ill, and before you know it, you are your body begins to shut down, and this is the way death begins to happen. So the telomere becomes the key. And if you can reverse this by holding a different core belief and frequency inside of yours, this is what the Russian geneticists, wave geneticists knew and have been in Russia, have been promoting for years, which is that you don't need to splice DNA by hand to do this. But by energy and consciousness, you can begin to shift everything. Any questions, any comments? I know I've said a lot.
I love you.
Oh, thank you.
You did say a lot, but it has to sink in and we have to process it.
Yes.
But I love you. You gave him a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Pierre,
Yes.
I can testify to what you're just saying, because I think I'm in the process of healing for that same reason you're talking about. You praying for me, I'm connecting to the morphogenic field, and now I'm in deep recovery of a lot of things, and getting my strength back, my everything back, all the feelings and everything in my body. So I just wanted to just have a comment about it. And you explaining the process, I mean, I appreciate that, because I can see now how the light of all of this is connecting, and it really works. And the whole fact that you, in the beginning of the class, I said, you did not see any cancer in my daughter at the time. That's the same process you're talking about now, because if it's in one cell, it's going to be in all of them. So I think that's right anyway. Okay, so I just wanted to comment on that, and I appreciate it, and thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. And again, as I said, when I take somebody to the station, sometimes I get information that, I witness certain things. And in this instance, I share with you what I picked up. Okay? And not to get too personal, but the day you were getting out of the hospital here in New York, and you and Esther were going to back to New Haven, there was a lot of resistance from the hospital staff. For whatever reason, there was a lot of resistance, and I could feel it energetically. And God brought me there that day, that morning, for a reason, because I know you would have not gotten out of the hospital if I didn't bring you and all of the issues into the station and release all of you into the blessed field. And
Absolutely.
I remember Esther saying to me, Pierre, you see what's happening, Pierre? And I was standing outside. I said, yeah, I'm working on it. And Esther said, oh. You remember this, Esther?
Oh yeah, Pierre. That day was, every time we worked out one thing, they came up with something else. And even and there's a part I don't think I ever shared with you. Even, first it was a transportation.
Yes.
And then they said, well, the transportation is already ready. Then they say, well, if the transportation is going to be tomorrow, they probably won't have a bed. And then I worked out all of that. And on that day, they said, well, we can't find the papers where you are the medical practice. Yeah, they said they lost the papers. And then, I just said, well, look, I have my copy. If you want me to show it to you, I'm going to report it to the authorities because that's a medical record. I said, but I'll show it to you. And then they found it. And then when we got the transportation, I had to talk to the transportation because they had been waiting about 4 hours. And finally, they brought the papers in for me to sign, for the release, along with the social work team. They said that they were releasing Bobby to what's that place over there? The nursing home. Yeah. They're in New York. Which they're in charge of. Instead of Yale New Haven Hospital. Yes. Now, if I hadn't read that and just signed it, when we would have gotten to one place, there were no papers to get. Yeah. And finally, I just said, and then I said, well, this is not right. They said, well, it's going to take us another 3 hours to go fix it. I said, no. You just scratch it out like we used to do, and you initial it, and let's make it work. And we went and got on the ambulance. But it was all kinds of blocks. Yeah. And I thought I was flying at the time.
Yes. Yes. I went outside. I took all of it in the blessed field. I said, I see all kind of complication for this not to happen, and I'm gonna take it into the blessed field. And at some point, they said, leave them there. I'm like, okay. I came back and I said, I'm gonna go because my point.
You sure did. I know. I thought you were going to stay longer. Yeah, and you said, Esther, no, I'm going to go. And I was saying, oh, okay, Peter, thank you for coming by. But, and we appreciate that because it was all kinds of roadblocks.
Yes.
There before that day and especially on that day.
Yep. And I knew, again, as I said, I saw it. Because when I was standing outside in the hallway, you kept saying to me, Pierre, you realize what's going on? I'm like, yeah, I'm working on it right now. Because I was at the station. I was like, okay, I'm pushing you right into the field. Go. Let the universe, let the stalling, all these ascended, elevated, let the light fix it. Because whatever blockages that they are creating, it's going to be undone. This will happen today.
Yeah. Well, that afternoon, about 2 o'clock, I guess we got out of there. But it was
And I was
Hard
there
work all
around
the
10.
way.
I remember being there around 10-ish or something like that. So it took a long time for them they were trying to stop you if it were possible.
That is so true. Appreciate everything you
Yeah.
did too.
Not a
Oh
problem.
yeah.
Not a problem.
Thank
Anybody?
you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anybody else? I know I've said a lot, and if you don't have anything to say, that's okay because I've opened up a whole bunch of doorways for you that you need to think about and go into very deeply. I brought a lot of information to the table, and I'm trying to paint a picture and create a narrative for you to comprehend all the pieces that are moving in to create this thing, this blockage that we have to somehow overcome in order for us to move into whatever that emerging space is. Because the exuberance and the immortality that exists in all of us is our birthright. We shouldn't exist in fear. We should exist in cowering. We shouldn't exist in a space where we are afraid of everything that's going to happen. And these incidents that are happening outside of us right now, where we're being the universe or whatever it is orchestrating all this. It's the existing paradigm and the archons trying to stop us from moving into this flow, the state of complete surrender into this blessed field, where everything, including the 50 trillion cells in our body, begin to move in this morphogenic awareness. Guarantee you, if you move into that space, you will all the problems that you have physical in your body will disappear. You will get younger. Because you have to understand something. In the genealogy of the Bible, chapter 5 of Genesis, that talks about all the patriarchs of the Bible. So-and-so begot so-and-so and lived to be 750 years old. This one begot this and lived to be 920. That one begot so-and-so, lived to be 810. All my Kabbalist teachers said the same thing. They were not allegorical, they were actual age. It was not till the Archon interfered in the next chapter, chapter 6, that humanity's destiny began to derail. So the genetic repair that needs to happen, that's what I'm guiding you into. This is why I use these words deliberately. It's a phoenix rising experience. When I channel for Wesak, or the beginning of Wesak that was coming in now, that's the term that I've been hearing a lot. The last time I did the channeling for the year, I heard that term for the first time. A phoenix rising experience. Where we can go back and claim who we really are. Out of the crucible. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No. I was just saying that this is a very powerful, I guess, space you're holding us in, and a very, it's so refreshing and on so many levels, and inspiring as well as challenging, because that self-awareness that you're inviting us to hold and to move through. Wow, that has so much potential because of where we exist right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But Esther, think of yourself as a child. How immortal you were, how invincible. We experienced it. All of us experienced it. And then
that's part of what I'm realizing. But the other part of that is, this type of conversation doesn't happen almost nowhere. Except here. and to have this conversation, where we are really inviting and challenging and inspiring each other to enter into this space of just so much, I guess, that infinite possibility for all of us, and that interconnectedness to everything.
Yes.
I mean, it leaves you in awe.
Yeah.
I mean, on so many levels.
Mm.
But it reminds me too of those times in life when things are most challenging. What do? I mean, I remember when I was raising my two kids. They were younger when I first moved here after my separation. From the husband and all that. And I remember my neighbor telling me once. She said, I see you leaving here every day with those kids, and they seem so together, and you just seem, she said, I would fall apart. That's what she said to me if I had to do that. And she said, how do you do it? I said, well, I guess if I thought about it, I would fall apart too. I said, but I just get up every day and make that step forward and trust that everything is going to be okay, and come back that night and get a good night's sleep.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I was pondering on there, though, is that self-awareness part. It has this part where that mind or ego, that is in this in terms of trying and wanting to know and figure out everything. Yep. But then there's this other part there that there's a knowing that you just ask for that guidance moment by moment and step into it.
Yep. And that's the state we need to be in. You don't have to figure all of it out on a map and have all this detail worked out. And because everything is in mutation, everything is evolving, everything is being generated. We are moving to quicksand. You have to keep shifting your center of gravity all the time. You have to be agile. And in all sense, physical, emotional, in all sense. So what I'm saying here is that we should be aware that this agility implies that moment by moment we have to trust. This is where the surrender and your connection to the blessed field becomes important. You're going to be aware, you're going to analyze it, you're going to see, okay, this is the problem, this is what I'm seeing as of today. I'm seeing it in that manner. I'm asking for your help. Help me remove this. And the more you cultivate that relationship, the easier the burden will be. And over time of you doing this, it will kick in like a knee-jerk reaction. And you will be in flow. And this is exactly what we want. I'm telling you today, I experienced it. I walked for about an hour and a half. I experienced it. Because I've been doing this release, this surrender, and I as I went outside, everything sharp, bright, and I could feel the exuberance in me. I'm like, okay, it was me walking all the way from 116th Street and Broadway all the way downtown and coming back. Just like that exuberance, that kind of like immortality. I can do anything I want. Nothing can stop me. And then you're seeing yourself now. You got to walk 2 blocks. You're like, oh God, oh.
Pierre, I'm going to ask one question. About what time was that?
I think it was around 1 o'clock, between 1 to 2:30 or something like that.
Oh, okay. I was just curious.
Yep. Anyways, anybody else? Melton, I thought you wanted to say something. Am I correct?
Yes. I was just going to say I'm probably going to need the recording because there was a lot in there.
Yes, not a problem, Shirley. Not a problem. I'll send it to all of you, okay?
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll do the closing meditation.
Thank you for asking, Melton.
You're welcome, my Shirley.
I am reminding everyone before I start the meditation that Wesak will be celebrated on April 25th, which will be on a Sunday, um, um, 2021, okay? It will be a one-day online experience like we did last year. It's already available on the website if you go to the upcoming event page. All that information and the details are already there. I'm also starting out a new Ascendance and Planetary Leadership, the Ascension Yoga for Neutrality, on April 7th, which will be on a Wednesday night. If you have friends that might be interested in the new series. Thank you.
Pierre, this is different than the series we're finishing this year, right? This is for neutrality.
This is exactly the same thing. It's just the wording I changed.
Okay.
It's just the wording. Because I realized that what I said before, a lot of people are not understanding it. So I had to change the wording slightly to make people understand what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I was excited thinking it was a new series.
I see where you're going. All right. Okay, let's get started. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Become aware of all the feelings and sensations that are bringing your heart and your head in coherence. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. and realized that all the neuron nets that compose your heart have now aligned and realigned. Your cerebellum. And as you continue to breathe in deeply and slowly, you are now in harmonium with not only yourself, but with Gaia. Just keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let this awareness, alignment, to the interdependence that binds everything. To grow and expand all around you. Like an infinite network of related correspondences and connections. With everything that exists in this universe and other universes. Taking all of us in unity consciousness. You have now entered into a multi-universal, morphogenic and collective awareness. With everything that exists. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And allow your awareness to notice how the bubble wrapped around survival shows up for you. What are the root false beliefs? Fear and separation consciousness. Now take this burden, fear, and bubble wrap. And release it. Surrender it into this endless and multi-universal network. Let it go. We ask the blessed field to remove all the fears, all the cellular memories in all the 50 trillion cells that are in our bodies. That are blocking flow and permanent access to this blessed field. Let all of the false beliefs, the false personality modules, the complexes, that we're holding in every part of our physical bodies, to be released completely. Into this blessed field. And let infinity times infinity Find the solution set. The nullifying frequency. And the scalar invert. So that restoration transmutation and resurrection can be demonstrated in our physical bodies. May the root code of all 3D accesses, programs, sub-program, and related program be taken into the blessed field for recycling. As the phoenix rises from its ashes, let the biophotons that exist at the very core of physical matter to be released as an inner fire transmuting crucible of light elevating our frequency and vibration into a state of perpetual repairs and instantaneous change. And let this begin to be demonstrated in us as a release, broadcast, and radiation from the core and center of the more than 50 trillion cells in our bodies. A vibration of immortality, invincibility, and perpetual renewal. Let this light begin to shine like the light of 1,000 suns, and broadcast this frequency of liberation to everyone in your circle of influence. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes. How you?
Thanks for the healing.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
It was beautiful.
Mm. Yeah. You're welcome.
Wow, that was so yummy. Thank you, Pierre.
Mm, mhm. All right, everyone. I won't keep you for too long. I'm gonna let you enjoy the place, and we'll talk next week. Deep love, family. Thank you so much.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you.
Pierre, Pierre,
Yes,
at what time you coming tomorrow?
I'm gonna leave here at 10 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Good night,
Good night,
Pierre. Thank
everyone.
you. Good night, everybody.
All right.
Good night.
Have a beautiful week.
You too, my love.